All right, Michael, we are a couple weeks removed from the championship, but is the party still going?
Yeah, I'm trying to wind down on the party. It's still kind of going, though. I think for my teammates, all summer, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All summer and, maybe a little after. When you win, you get to celebrate for as long as you want, I feel like.
Exactly. And you go so long into the playoffs, your off-season's shorter, so it's definitely a balance between, taking time off and then get back to work because we don't have as much time, you know what I mean?
I love talking to the new champions at Summer League because I feel like you're walking around this time. People are maybe looking at you a little differently, treating you a little differently. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, no, it's cool. Everywhere you go, people, all walks of life, you know what I mean? They tune into the playoffs and especially the finals. So it's what's up, champ? Congrats, champ. And they just show the respect. Other players, so many guys want a ring, that's what they chase their whole career. So you definitely feel that walking around for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's the obvious, stamp of the fact that if you win the ring, you're the best team. But what stamp does winning a ring put on a player individually?
Yeah, I just think it shows you're a winner. To actually contribute on a championship team, you definitely have to be selfless because in the playoffs, you can ask anyone who's played in the playoffs, there will be games where you have it going, there will be games you don't have it going, and you got to find a way to contribute when it's not your night. So we had a team full of guys like that. It really helped our run and eventually helped us become champions.
Now, all season, y'all were very good. All season, I think everyone believes you all were the best team, but you weren't being picked to win the championship. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I mean, we were number one in the West most of the year, but there's so many good teams. I see why people thought the Bucks were going to win. I see why people thought the Celtics. When KD went to the Suns, I see why people picked them. Then, you got the Warriors. But we were pretty consistent all year. And then when it came playoff time and you're playing your main guys 40 minutes, I just felt like we had the best team all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like maybe we overcomplicate who's going to win the championship? Does that make sense? Because that's the conversation I've kind of been having. Because if you were watching the Nuggets all year, it was very clear that y'all were the most complete and the best and had one of the best, if not the best player in the league.
Yeah. I don't know about overcomplicate because winning a championship in and of itself, there's so many factors that play into who wins. Say Kawhi didn't get hurt in the playoffs, Paul George didn't get hurt. Do they lose to the Suns? You know what I mean? Then we play the Clippers. How would that have gone? If Boston had beat the Heat Game 7, then we would have played Boston. How would the series against them, how would that have gone? So there's so many factors. A little bit of luck has to be on your side. As far as injuries, there's been a few years where me and Jamal, a couple years where we weren't all the way healthy at playoff time. So a lot of it is just guys staying healthy going into the playoffs. And we were lucky to be pretty healthy all year.
Yeah. Because, you're right. Winning that trophy, it's luck, it's situation, it's health, it's camaraderie. It's all of these things that kind of have to line up for it to work. And every player I know that wins a championship, they say it was so much harder than they ever would have thought. It is.
Because it's literally it's 2 more extra months, but it's 2 months of the most competitive, high-intense basketball you've ever played in your life. So, the recovery, the flying back and forth, just one game in the playoffs feels like 3 regular season games in terms of a toll on your body, you know what I mean? Mentally, physically. The fans, just the pressure of the moment, all that's so much amplified in the playoffs. And then it's going 2 months longer into when everyone else in the league is able to go on vacation, be with their family and their friends. And we're having to be more locked in than we were all year. So I think that's a hard part of it.
So the not being picked, did you or the team ever take it personally?
I think we got a team full of guys that don't really feed too much into social media or kind of I think a lot of us were really oblivious to it. Coach would bring it up sometimes. And it definitely was a driving factor for us, but not too much because we just know how stuff works. When a star player gets traded like KD did to the Suns, people want to talk about that. You got the Lakers, you got Boston who made it to the finals the year before. So we don't really take it as disrespect. We know we're a smaller market team, but we definitely knew but we had the pieces to do it for sure.
Yeah. Well, y'all are the winners. And I love that right after y'all won, there's talk of dynasty. There's talk of we're going to go get more.
Yeah.
What makes this Nuggets team equipped to win multiple championships?
Yeah, well, I kind of was honestly a little like just not, I wouldn't say the word is annoyed, but a little frustrated that as soon as you win a championship, the whole talk is winning another one instead of like sitting back, realizing, okay, this is the first one the city has ever won. We may never have this opportunity again. Who knows? Like, guys got traded, big pieces to our team. So, like, I felt like you just needed to soak it in. So that's what I was trying to do. But it's crazy how as soon as you win one, the talk is multiple championships. I think with the core that we have, it's definitely possible. But, yeah, I haven't even gone into that mode of worrying about that yet. You know what I mean?
For sure. What do you think that says just about how we view sports, but also how it's kind of difficult for people to live in the moment of right now, because the thing is, okay, well, what are you going to do for me next?
Yeah, like you see it all the time in media. First of all, like the story is only hot for 2 or 3 days. So when we won a championship, it was big. That's what everyone was kind of talking about for 2 or 3 days. But now people got to talk about the next season, the trades going on, all this stuff. So I think this life is so fast. Sometimes we don't get a chance to like appreciate the moments, and especially like the moments like a championship. But I feel like part of that is good. You know, we're always looking forward to the future and things like that. But sometimes I think people got to slow down and appreciate the moment. Like even Nuggets fans, you know, as soon as we win a championship, you see the comments of just like doing it again, or who are we trading? How do we make our team better?
Yeah.
It's like we just brought the first championship to the city ever. So it's a balance, but you definitely see it.
Yeah. Well, Michael Malone got everybody fired up. He's like, all right, we have another one on the way. I'm like, let's do it, Michael Malone. I love it. Yeah. Of course, you're excited for every single teammate that you have when you win. But which player were you just most excited for to see them get that accomplishment under their belt?
I think that the vets, like Ish, Jeff, DJ, just because, you know, Ish and DJ weren't playing a whole lot in the playoffs, but they were the ones, if we're going to talk about being locked in, they were the ones in the group chat reminding everyone be locked in all playoffs. Jeff, you know, same thing. He played a little more, but they're a little older. Who knows how many opportunities they'll have. And they just kept reminding us how special this is. Like, they've been in the league for 15-plus years, and it's the first time they've won a championship or even got close to winning a championship. So I think I was really excited for those three guys. Really excited for Jamal as well. You know, we were in the rehab room together, rehabbing together, with everyone.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you mentioned, you know, Ish like being one of the guys that keeps people locked in the group chat. What's your role in the group chat?
My role in the group chat, I just react to what they say. I don't really start too many conversations, but we got such a funny group. Like, if dudes are going back and forth or whatever it is, I just throw my little reactions in there, my little instigations, things like that. So
who's like the funny joke guy in the group
DJ,
chat? It is DJ? Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely the most active in the group chat, and he's always throwing the little memes in there, pulling up throwback pictures of all of us and putting them in the group chat. Yeah, DJ's funny.
Is Jokić an emoji guy?
Honestly, I feel like Joker came out of his shell a little bit. Like, you know, having those guys like DJ and Jeff and those older guys who are so fun to be around and things like that kind of brought Joker a little bit out of his shell this year. So he's been way more active in the group chat. You know what I mean? Even since going back to Serbia, in years past, like when he would go back home, you didn't hear from Joker till the training camp. Mm-hmm. But we really built a brotherhood with this team. So everyone's pretty active in the chat.
I love that. Is he updating you on the horses? Are they winning? What's going on?
I don't even know. I don't know if they're winning, but I know we saw some pictures of him back home. We know he's enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Love to hear that. We, of course, know just how good Jokić is, but being his teammate, you're viewing it completely differently.
Yeah.
What was that moment that we didn't see that you knew, okay, this guy is unreal?
I think it probably was, well, I've told this story before, but like when I first got drafted to Denver and I saw him in training camp, Like, I thought Mason Plumlee was better than him. You know what I mean? Like, they were going back and forth. They were matching up. I was like, wait, why does Joker start over Mason? Because Joker was kind of coasting a little bit. I'm like, this dude's fat. This dude. But then, like, they just told me, like, no, wait till you see him play in the games. He could score 50 every game if he wanted to. So fast forward, season comes along, and, like, I saw it straight up. I saw how good he was, and he had an amazing year. But then the moment I realized how special he was every year after that, it was like he was doing even more till he was MVP. And then even the year after he won MVP, it was like he had an even better year. And then, even this year, some would say he had his best year yet. So it was just like he already was MVP, and he still was growing from there, and not letting that, make him lazy or anything like that. And it just showed his discipline, his dedication. That's when I really realized how special he was.
Yeah, you said, oh, that's why he's starting over Mason.
Literally. No disrespect to Mason. Mason's my guy.
Mason
love
is
playing with
catching
Mason.
a stray.
I love playing with Mason. Yeah. He's one of the best teammates ever.
Yeah.
Same agency. That's my guy right there. But yeah, Joker's obviously special.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's like every year he would add something new. Every year he would get better. So now I say, okay, well, next season, what does that look like for Jokić?
Yeah, I think he enjoys just having guys around that can also take. He doesn't want to score 40 a game, even though I genuinely think he probably could. But I just think having guys around that are also capable, he likes that. So he'll probably just do what he did this year, be super consistent, not really have too many bad games. Mm-hmm. If he's not scoring 30, he's probably gonna have 16 assists. And then we got a system in place that really fits all of our games as well.
Mm-hmm. Side note, but I hear your head coach is like very specific about being called Michael and not Mike. Is that true? He's like, my name's Michael Malone.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just call him Coach. I don't even call him.
You're like, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that. But
yeah.
Now that I think about it, no one really calls him Mike Malone. It's usually Michael.
Yeah. He's like, my name is Mike, which I love that, because your name is your name and you want to be called exactly that.
Exactly.
And I really like the bond that you all have. You all had a great moment after you won where he came up to you and spoke to you and said, listen, I don't want to hear you talking about missing shots. You helped us win a championship.
Yeah.
Did you need to hear that in that moment?
Not really, because we just won a championship, so I wasn't really too worried about missing a lot of shots, especially just because that last game went a little bit better for me. But yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, it's not really about you at that point. In the regular season, guys maybe wanting to get their average or get their stats or be an all-star, this or that. In the playoffs, all that really goes out the window. So from the outside, people may get on you if you have a bad game or whatever. But on the inside, it's really just like, okay, what can I do to help us win?
Yeah.
So that was my mindset. And then to me, when it comes to shooting, shooting 2 of 7 or 3 of 8 or 1 of 6, to me, that's not really a bad shooting night. We all had our opportunities and things like that, but missing 5 shots in an NBA game or going, 1 for 6, to me, that's not a bad shooting night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in my head, it wasn't like, dang, I'm shooting terrible. I was definitely missing more shots than I wanted to, but I was never really down on myself like that.
So do you feel like, and I know you're saying you weren't on social media and things like that as much or watching TV as much, but do you feel like it was maybe a bit more overblown for other people because that was such a storyline? But you were like, my head's on straight, I'm going to impact the game in different ways. Yeah,
and I think, I'm the hardest on myself more than anyone could be hard on me. So, yeah, you want to make all your shots. But, overall in the playoffs, I didn't shoot terrible. In the finals, my 3-ball wasn't falling, so I was trying to get double-digit rebounds, things like that. And at the end of the day, we won a championship. So if we win a championship with guys not playing their best, it's like, okay, we're good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't mad. I wasn't getting up extra shots after the game, things like that. Mm-hmm. But we were winning, and we were winning most of our games. I think we lost 3 or 4 games in the playoffs. So when you win,
but yeah.
yeah, when you win, you can't be too mad.
Yeah. Okay, right after the season, I think you called your shot broken and said you'd fix it in the off season. Has it been fixed?
Well, we're, 4 weeks since, 3 or 4 weeks? Mm-hmm. So I'm still in the mode of soaking it all up, traveling a little bit, but I think I'm leaving Vegas tomorrow, and then it's back to getting right. I definitely made a couple tweaks already from the times I've been in the gym. Mm-hmm. But no, my shot's never broken.
You're like, that's kind of the thing I said. I got you.
Yeah.
You do have one of the prettiest shots in the league, though. So tell me 3 other guys that you think have very pretty shots. Rank your favorites.
I think Klay Thompson's shot is like picture perfect, like balance, elbow straight. I love the way. I like obviously how Steph shoots. We work out quite a bit together, and I just think his range. I admire shooting because there's 2 different ways guys shoot. Some guys shoot a push shot, and they can extend their range back, and that's the shooters like Trae Young or Damian Lillard or Steph. And then there's like jump shooters who shoot kind of like me with the higher release point, like me, KD, Paul George, Jason Tatum has a high release. So I admire shooting from like different aspects of it. And then there's like different perks to both type of shooting. If you shoot like above your more of a jump shot, you can a guy can be in your face and you can just shoot. Mm-hmm. But then the guys who shoot more of that push shot, they can extend their range way back. So I appreciate all type of shooting. I think Damian Lillard, we saw it up close when he was giving a 50 in the playoffs a couple years ago. Book has an amazing shot. He was killing us this year for a couple games. But yeah, that's a few guys who I think are great shooters.
I love that because even though you're in the league, like you're still admiring different shots and picking like some things up. And you said you work out with Steph a lot in the off season. Yeah. What have you kind of picked up from him doing that? Yeah,
so I'm close with him and his trainer. So when we work out together, really Steph's best attribute is his conditioning. Like his workouts are, some guys may do a star drill where they run from the top of the key to the corner to the other wing to the other wing to the other corner. He's doing that same drill but full court. So from the top of the key here to the opposite corner, and then so his conditioning is like his best attribute. So that's what I pick up from him, and his attention to detail. I think that's something all the great players have, their routine. So he definitely has that for sure. Like you don't just become that good at shooting just by a gift. Some of it is a gift, but you got to work to become one of those shooters.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Nico, who played for Golden State for a little bit. He's now in Summer League this year with the Bucks, I believe. And he said, being around Steph, it showed me that like none of this stuff happens by accident. Like people try to diminish Steph by saying he has a talent, he's just a great shooter, but you have to do so many other things to become what Steph Curry actually is.
Yeah, and I would take it a step further to be like, all the great players have that, but really to survive in the league and to be a impact player for multiple years, you have to have a level of discipline and consistency, because I think I heard this on Paul George's podcast with Draymond, but like all the little stuff that goes into being an NBA player, that's what's the hard part about being an NBA player, the routine, the sleep, the nutrition. But then to be a great NBA player, you take all that 10 times further, and your whole life is dedicated to being great. Look at LeBron, like the way he takes care of his body, his recovery. Like that's the hard part. And to be great, there's a lot of players who probably have the talent or genetics to be great, but it's hard. Like you really have to dedicate your whole life to it, really.
Yeah, and there's also so many players where the talent is so incredibly apparent that they're almost relying on just that. And if they hit that other level, it'd be over for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think when you get to the league, sometimes people say, okay, the accomplishment was making it to the NBA. And some people say, okay, I made it to the NBA. How do I become one of the greater players?
Yeah.
And that kind of, I think, separates those two groups.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Like the way what did you want out of the NBA? Did you grow up really wanting, the money that came with it so you could take care of everybody and that was your main goal? Or like, did you want to get the cars and the jewelry, or did you really want to be like one of the best players? And you wouldn't be content until you were. So I think that's what separates. It was like, what was your goals? What was the reason you really wanted to be an NBA player in the first place?
What did you want out of the NBA?
Yeah, like I never really cared too much about like the money and the things like that. Like it's amazing. It's a blessing, you know what I mean, to be able to make sure my family's good, my friends. But like for me, I was so driven at a young age to just try to become the best. Like that was always my goal. And obviously been through some injuries, some hard things, but like that's still my goal. It's like I'm not too much for all the stuff that comes with it. I wouldn't say any of that stuff makes me more happier than I was without it. So my goal is just to keep getting better until I can't get better anymore.
Yeah. Okay, well, going back to the beginning of becoming an NBA player, of the top 15 picks in the 2018 draft, you're the only one so far that has a ring. Are you surprised to hear that?
Wait, that is true, huh?
It is. You're like, I got to look up all the picks. You are.
So see, like that's where you look back on like, okay, I could have, maybe if I didn't get hurt, maybe I would have gone number 1 or number 2. But would I have ever won a ring in those situations? So it's like I look back at, like, God does stuff like that where it doesn't work out the way you thought it was, but then you can look back and see the good stuff that came out of it. So I won a championship, got drafted to Denver. I love the city. Like that's something I can look back on and be like, okay, even though I went through these injuries, all this wouldn't have come about if I didn't go through that.
Yeah. Because if, say I was talking to you draft night from the future, came to talk to you, and I said that you would be the first of those guys to win, would you be surprised by that?
No, I definitely wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Nah, not at all.
You'd be like, no, I think I'll win it.
Yeah, regardless if I would have went to a bad team at the time or a good team, I still probably would have thought I could be one of the first ones to win one.
Well, you know, on Bill Simmons' podcast, Doc Rivers was saying that the Clippers should have taken you. They ended up taking Jerome Robinson, I believe, but he was saying that they should have taken you. On that night, who did you feel like you were going to go to? Did you have any idea?
Yeah, people actually ask me about that a lot. They ask me if I'm like bitter or hold a grudge towards the Clippers. I knew I wasn't going to the Clippers because it was their doctor who actually wrote the report that I may never play again. He was the main one who evaluated me pre-draft and was like, yeah, his injuries, he may never play basketball again. So he sent that whole memo out to the league. So I think the Clippers had back-to-back picks or 11 and 13 or something like that. I knew they weren't taking me, but like it wasn't really a goal of mine to prove them wrong. Because at that time I was just like, man, I hope someone gives me a chance, and then hopefully like I can work through these injuries and be a good player again. But that was really just an overall like scary time. But yeah, I definitely knew it wasn't the Clippers. My agent, so the Nuggets were actually like not even on my radar at all, and my agent had me talk to them the day of the draft to try to make it so I wouldn't go past 14. Like that would be my floor. So I talked to Tim Conley on the phone, and I ended up in Denver. That was the first day I talked to him. That was like the last place I would have thought I would have gone, though.
Really? And it all worked out. So the Clippers doctor says you probably will never play in the NBA, and here you are, a champion.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten a chance to talk to the people that doubted you or the Clippers doctor?
I forget the dude's name, but I don't blame him because at that time I didn't know. Like people didn't know how much pain I was in. I had never experienced pain like that. Now I've had 3 of these kind of surgeries and 3 of these rehabs, so I kind of know how to take care of it. But at that time I had no clue. You know what I mean? I was trying to put on a hard face, but it, like deep down, like I had no idea if I was gonna be able to work through that. So I haven't really been able to like talk to anyone, and I don't really want to because. Like, I'm not worried about them. It's not about proving them wrong. It's just about working as hard as I can and leaving the rest up to God.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that was an incredibly scary time for you because there's probably this little voice in your head that's like, is he or she right?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to play in the NBA?
Yeah. So, like, the first surgery I had was in college, and I think I rushed back too quick because I tried to get back for the NCAA tournament, and I ended up hurting it again. So that second time I was like, that's when it was really like, am I going to be cool after this? Mm-hmm. So I got to Denver, had another surgery, and yeah, I was like, I still feel like I'm working my way through it all, like adjusting through it, getting better through it, because I'm having to adjust the way I play, things like that. But yeah, there definitely was times where I was like, am I going to be okay? Like, am I going to be able to work through this?
When did it become easy for you to talk about that time in your life, like the surgeries, the injuries?
Yeah, I think even through it, like, I've always been super open and honest, and I have a big family. Like, I got 7 brothers and sisters, 2 parents, they're still together. So I have a lot of people that I could talk to and be open and honest with. So it was that whole time I had people I could rely on and kind of lean on. So it was never like I got in a super dark place and I felt isolated because I had my family.
Yeah. I read this story that you would often ask yourself, why? Like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why? What answers did you come up with?
Yeah, I think it's, like I said earlier, it's perspective, and it's like looking back later in life and looking back at things you thought were bad for you, or you ask why they would happen, and then like later you'll see an answer like down the road, like why that happened to you. So, I've been able to see that. Like I said, like with the championship with Denver, that's cool to look back on those injuries and be like, this was part of my story. This came to be. And then like, stories that come out, an article was written about my whole situation, and that inspired people that I never would have been able to inspire if I had never gone through injuries. Some people hit me up on Instagram like, yo, bro, like I'm having a surgery tomorrow. Like, what did you do to get back playing at a high level? I'm able to help those people. Like, so I like looking back and seeing things that came to be that probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't go through that.
Absolutely. Through those surgeries, I don't ever remember reading anything where you were saying you were thinking about quitting or you were close to quitting. Were you ever close to giving up?
Nah, not quitting, just because when it comes to like basketball and what we were saying about being great, like some guys have other hobbies that they like to do, and that could take away from them becoming as good as they could be. For me, like basketball was like my thing, you know what I mean? Like I never had a plan B. I never had anything I really liked to do on the side. I never had any instruments I liked to play, anything like that. So even when I was going through all this, I was like, I don't have a choice but to figure out a way to work through this, work around it. And so that was my whole mindset after every single surgery.
And on your podcast, Curious Mike, you were talking about those moments and figuring out what your identity was. How difficult was that, learning identity?
Yeah, I think athletes probably struggle the worst with identity, just because we receive, from a young age, we receive like love and adoration from people, clapping, and that's how we receive love. So when you stop receiving that, or for the first time in your life, you see national news or things like that talking bad about you, you got to think, like, most of the guys in the NBA, they were always that dude growing up. So they never really had times where people were just talking crazy about them. Now you're in the NBA, you have bad games, you have way more people watching. And so your identity can kind of, like when things aren't going good, you need to figure out what you can lean on. So through all my surgeries, like 3 different times I had tons of people just, giving up on me, doubting me. When I committed to Missouri, like the whole attendance sold out, season tickets sold out. In the first game, I got injured and I couldn't play all season. So I heard everything, from he just doesn't want to play because he wants to get drafted and not play college, or, I heard like tons of stuff. But for me, that actually helped me figure out my identity, which I feel like a lot of athletes in general really struggle with, like a true identity that doesn't kind of like shift when things are going good or bad.
What you just said is really interesting and true about how you have learned to receive love. Because as an athlete, that love has been praised. It has been, you had a great game, or you're such a great player. Like, that's what love has been for you. So how does that manifest in your life, like in your personal life, about what you view love to be?
Yeah, so I've just tried to disassociate love with like applause. A lot of people, live for the approval of others, and, they get their sense of worth from the approval of others. So I've been able to disassociate from that just because of what I've been through. But some people never can get away from that because they've never had experiences like I've had to kind of like, you have to go away from that way of thinking. So now I just try to find love in things that don't shake or don't change from one game to another. That's my family, my faith, people that if I had a career-ending injury tomorrow, like they would still be just as close to me. And so things like that, I think, is where I find it now.
There's a quote by this poet, his name's Rudy Francisco, and he says, "I've learned to love the parts of myself that nobody claps for." So, like applause.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you love about yourself that are not, the glitzy, glamorous things, but are great about Michael Porter Jr.?
I don't know too many. I don't know too many things I would say. Like, I'm working to be the best person I could be. Mm-hmm. But I think just being authentic and being open and actually, like, speaking on things that come to my mind. Like, a lot of people are kind of, like, scared of speaking their mind as of how they'll be received. I feel like a gift of mine is I never really cared too much about that. So I would say that's one thing. But, yeah.
That's a good thing. Yeah, in that same story I was reading, though, you still watch some of your, like, high school highlights. Is that true?
Yeah, I watch them, but I hate watching them because I get, like, depressed because, like, the freedom of movement before injuries and things like that kind of aren't the same at this point in my career. I'm still, like, I've been rehabbing while I've been playing simultaneously. Like, I'm not at 100%. I haven't been for a while, but I'm trying to get there. So when I watch those old high school stuff, it's cool, and it's kind of makes me sad at the same time, but it's good looking back. I just can't watch them too long.
Yeah. So when you talk about, like, freedom of movement, you're saying it kind of just reminds you now of, like, I used to be moving like that.
Yeah.
When am I going to get
used to just, I always think, like, okay, if I didn't get injured, like, how good would I be right now, like, watching those old tapes? So just the way I could jump off either foot, things like that. So I've gotten better in certain areas of the game, but definitely some things have been affected by the injuries. So, yeah.
You are kind of the perfect person to talk about a lot of different things because, you were the number one recruit in the country. You were constantly praised. Everything was about Michael Porter Jr. How should we talk about younger players? As someone who's gone through it, and when you see the expectations that we put on young guys, how should we talk about them?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's really going to change just because there's more and more media. There's more and more people that, kids are being ranked at a younger and younger age. But, like, those are the developmental years for kids. So if they're receiving their love or they're feeling love at that age from people just, clapping at their games or, if that's going to stick with them and affect them later down the line when things aren't going their way. That's when you run into, like, the identity problem. So, I mean, I just feel like it's hard because of social media now. But, like, at the end of the day, like, basketball is a game. Obviously, it's a job, but it's a game. And these, like, kids that people talk about, as much as people think that these kids don't see it, like, they're seeing all the crazy stuff people are saying about it. So, like, you got to be humane at the same time.
Yeah, and being mindful of the fact that, like, they are kids. Yeah. And I think people forget that because they're on your screen and they're playing a game. But some of the things that we're saying about 16, 17, 18-year-olds can be very bad and things that at that age you would never want somebody to say to you.
They affect you, yeah, all the way up into the NBA. But when you get to the NBA, though, like, you can't really – that's your job at that point. You're getting paid a lot of money, so you can't complain about people talking bad about you or whatever because that's part of it. So you can't – like, the pros outweigh the cons at that point. You got to –
for sure.
You can't trip too much. But, yeah, as kids – that aren't getting paid for what they're doing, like, people need to be mindful of how that stuff is messing them up for sure.
So based on experiences that you have been through, what words would you give to somebody like Victor, who was just starting, about managing expectations of others and separating that from yourself?
Yeah, like yesterday, like I felt for him because people want to talk about his performance in that game, but he's going to have so many amazing games. But just I think he already does a good job. Like, I've seen his interviews. I don't think he's one of those guys who's going to get way too high, way too low. Mm-hmm. But that's the danger of if you can't figure it out or find that mental strength to not get too high or too low, because people are all, this, that, and he had one bad game, and now people are talking a certain way about him. But it's hard. Like, all these people following him around, like, all this media, all this, and then it's just a lot for a kid that over there was just able to play a free game of basketball. And now you come to the NBA and it's all about this other stuff is involved. That's why I think some people, the love for the game gets lost in the NBA, but it's part of it. It's your job at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I feel like the point of summer league is like overreactions.
Yeah.
Because people play the games and it's like, oh, they're a bust. They did this, they're bad, or they're the best. Like, it's just so much. But really, summer league has to be what it is, which is just development.
Yeah. And ready for the season, which that dude is going to be a monster. You know what I mean? So that's what summer league's about. For sure.
A few more for you. Only 3 teams have finished undefeated at the Peach Jam and won a championship. You and Trae Young's team was one of those in 2016, I believe. What do you remember most about that?
Yeah, we were just like dominant out there. Like, yeah, my team, me, Trae, my brother Jonte, we had a few other guys. Like, we were smacking everybody, like really good teams. I honestly think we probably could go down as like the best AAU team ever because we were smacking teams at Peach Jam by like 30. Like, get them out of here. Get them out of here. Like, yeah, we were like really, really good. So, but MoCan, that program out of Kansas City, like that's one of the only EYBL teams that practices. So me and Trae got really close playing with them. We would go down to Kansas City for the weekend. We would stay at our coach's house, but we would have like 2 or 3 days. Like MoCan, those practices and all that is harder than college and the NBA combined. Like,
what?
Yeah,
no way.
I promise you, MoCan is like, they try to prepare you for like what you're gonna face in college, but it's like way harder. Like, MoCan was hard.
Okay, like how? Give me examples of how it's harder than
it's
college
like
NBA.
We were doing like 3-a-day practices, watching film, this and that. And every other AAU team, you know, they just show up and hoop. We're doing all this extra stuff, but it paid off. We won the Peach Jam, but we were like the coaches over there, and Matt Souther, who runs it, Rodney Perry was our coach. They take it serious, like very serious.
So you're like, we were the greatest of all time. That was us.
Yeah, I would like to hear somebody say a team that was better.
Outside of your team, what's like the most impressive Peach Jam performance you saw?
I think Aaron Gordon had a really good team with the Oakland Soldiers. I think they played like Andrew Wiggins' team. I'm trying to think. There was so many good performances. Malik Monk was amazing in the EYBL. Yeah, but the EYBL is dope. Like, it's cool seeing all those dudes from back then, like, all in the league. It feels like everyone, all my childhood friends that were hoopers, like, it seems like they're all in the league.
I love that. I mean, Peach Jam, it really is like, that's the future.
Yeah.
Like, the people you're watching there, you're going to be watching them for a really long time. I love that. So you were on that team with Trae. I am a big Hawks fan. I'm a Trae Young fan. I feel like, though, Trae is a bit misunderstood by people. What do you think people should know about Trae? I know you all are incredibly close.
Yeah, I think he's another one of those guys who is just going to be himself unapologetically, but, like, he doesn't want to play like a villain role. Like, he's one of the nicest dudes, most genuine dudes. Like, the whole playoffs, text me after every game, keep letting it fly, you know, or just text me tons of stuff. But Trae is a great dude, you know what I mean? Comes from a good family. He's one of my best friends in the league. I don't really know why he got misunderstood, but that dude, he's a good dude, and he's also underrated at this point. Like, people don't realize how good Trae is. Like, he led the league in points and assists, and then he wasn't an all-star. Like, I don't see how that happens.
Oh, trust me, I am always on the Trae Young campaign. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
But I'm from the suburbs of Atlanta. So.
Yeah, when they talk about like point guards though, like I'm putting Trae up there with pretty much anyone because he can pass, shoot. He has a crazy IQ. I think he's one of the best passers in the league. Can shoot from deep, and I've played with him, so I know how good he is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. Something I definitely wanted to talk with you about before we go is in the article that you did with The Ringer, you talk about letting go of ego, which I think is really important. What role do you see ego play in the league, and what role has it played in your life?
Yeah, I think it plays a big role in the league just because, first of all, at this point, like, money's involved and guys are making different amounts of money, so that's hard. That's different than we were just playing high school basketball, college, and just a team, you know what I mean? But I feel like the teams that end up going far, it is letting go of ego. But ego is a weird thing because you can detach from it one day and then you can slip back into it the next day on accident, you got to like constantly remind yourself to kind of get away from that part of yourself. But that's one thing about our team. Like, we got a really selfless team from top to bottom. So I love the team that I'm on. When guys come to our team from other teams, they're like, it's not like this over there. So I definitely appreciate that about our team, for sure. But it definitely plays a role in the league, I think, because, like I said, dudes growing up, they always were that dude. So they developed a big ego. That also can make you great, but it can be a downfall because you might want more shots, or you might not want to do this role because you were the best player in high school, so now you don't want to fit this role. And that could be the detriment of your career because you couldn't figure out how to play a role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a thing that's...
All right, amazing. Well, I want to end by saying happy late birthday.
Thank you.
I know you just turned 25.
Yeah, I'm an old man.
You're an old man? Oh, my gosh, I'm a grandma then.
I feel crazy.
One thing my friends and I will try to do when it's our birthdays is we do our pit and our peak of the year. I feel like I probably know your peak, but I'm going to ask you your pit and peak, but end on your peak. So tell me your pit first.
My pit, I can't really talk about my pit because it's very personal to my family. But definitely there were some rough times for my family, for me, even into the playoffs. But the peak was through all that, being able to win a championship, for sure.
I love that. Well, congratulations. And you were fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I'm happy we got to do this.
Appreciate you so much.
Of course.